The first thing you do when you get up out of bed is hit
The Piper Professor Award is a statewide award to honor a full-time faculty for their teaching excellence. Each higher education institution in Texas is invited to submit one nominee. Only 10 are selected for the award statewide. They do get a fat $5,000 check for it. ACC is proud that their Piper Professor Award nominee this year is Tobin Carew.
One of the weirder things I guess I do is starting right at the beginning of the semester in the first class. Once I get students in class and get the roll checked and figure out where they're sitting and introduce them to the course, somewhere towards the latter part of the class I assign them an activity to do where they're talking to each other and engaged in conversation. And during that time I'm up front madly trying to associate names and faces and where they're sitting, so that by the time the class is over and I've brought it to a close, I usually end by saying, okay, it's time for the first test. They get a little panicked and then I say, no, this is a test for me. And at that point, I go around the room trying to connect names and faces and let them know that I know who they are and I've got their name down. And by the time they leave, hopefully they feel a little more connected to the classroom and to each other and to me. And later on during the semester, it's often that I'll get one or two students come up to me later and say, now, how'd you do that during that first class so you got everybody's name? And since our class is all about how to learn, that brings up some interesting discussions.
Hey, down here. No, back here. The National Institute for Staff and Organizational Development, NISOD, emphasizes excellence in teaching and leadership in higher education. Winners of the NISOD Excellence Award are recognized at the annual International Conference for Teaching and Leadership Excellence. Winners of this award represent the very best in higher education.
Hi, my name is Bob Comer and I'm from the Computer Studies Department. And when people ask me where my office is, I generally say that my office is on the Riverside campus, but I teach mainly on the web. One of the weird things is that some students seem to think that if they have trouble in a classroom and can't communicate with their instructor in a classroom, that they're going to do better in a web-based course. And that just, obviously is not the case. And other issues that are kind of interesting, many of our students these days have grown up with the web, and they don't want to look at the book, they don't want to search for something in the textbook, they think that they can find everything they need on the web, and it's just a little surprising because if they have difficulty understanding something in the textbook, they're not typically going to find better explanations on the web. The bottom line is that I find teaching very challenging, but I also find it very rewarding and enjoyable.
This is Raymond Gerson, and one thing that I do that's different or weird is a motivational boxing skit on the last day of my transition to college success classes. The message is that we have a negative and positive voice inside and that we can conquer the negative opponent within us. The skit is a melodrama and a takeoff on Rocky movies. I play Mr. Negative, who wears a mask and trash talks. I also play the ring announcer and Mr. Positive, who's our hero and wears a Rocky t-shirt. During the fight, music plays from the Rocky I movie. My students yell for the good guy and boo for the bad guy. They know that Mr. Positive represents the best in all of us, so they pull for him to win. My students get the message and have a lot of fun. Years later, they tell me when they feel knocked down by the blows of life that they recall the word pictures created in their mind by this skit. Then they get back up and continue the good fight against their inner negative opponent.
Hi, my name is Nina Legg, and I'm an instructor in the speech department here at ACC. And when I was asked to talk about something that I do weird in class, or that is weird that's happened in my class, I was stumped because seems like every day is weird. There's always something going on because I teach speech classes, communication classes, and this is the place where students get to come and share their interests and share what they're geeky about and share what they're passionate about, and that's what I love. So I had the quiet student bring all her full regalia for belly dancing and showed us all how to do it, and had another student bring the back end of a plastic cow and show us how to do artificial insemination, which was weird. But it's great because it gives the opportunity for students to share themselves and for us to learn, and so every day is weird, and that's what makes it so great.
Hi, I'm Bill Morrison, and in keeping with the theme of keeping teaching weird, I have a short story that I use to engage my students, and what I do is provide them with a short student survey on the first day of class, and as part of that survey it gives me information about their background, both from the standpoint of education and their work experience. And from this information it gives me the opportunity to basically help them bridge the gap between their experiences and what's currently being taught in the course. It also helps me to call on that student if that student has the expertise in a particular area that would be worth sharing with the rest of the class. And so this isn't necessarily rocket science, but it's one way that I am able to help my students succeed.
All right, my name is Russell Moses. I teach philosophy, and I like to think of philosophy as a labor-intensive activity. It takes real time to do real work on our ideas. So our ideas are like any other sort of thing we live with. We have to work on it. We have to practice. We have to see how things work together. We have to, you know, see how relationships work with ideas. So I have the workshop method so that students can get together and test out their ideas with each other, see how their ideas work together, see what kind of relationships work better, and sort of work it out between each other so that they have some company while they're doing their philosophical work.
So, you were asking me to discuss something I do related to student engagement that's a little bit weird but effective. What I do that is highly effective is only weird today. It wouldn't have been weird 15 or 20 years ago. On the first class period, after we cover the syllabus and we take care of all the business and students are packing up because they think it's a short class period, I say, wait, hold on, you guys are going to write me a letter. That's the weird part because students today do not write letters. They don't know how to do salutations or anything like that. So we discuss it. They each write me a letter, about 400 words, in which they tell me about their past experiences with English, their hopes for this class, their fears for this class, what they hope to get out of it, anything that all gives me insight into their personalities, how they learn, who needs extra support behind the scenes, who needs extra help to level the playing field. And in addition, they feel as though I really do care because we talk about the letters in the next class period. Highly effective, pretty weird, but only to my students today. Anyone over 40 would think it's normal, but it works very well, and it's the weird thing that I do.
Hello, my name is Anna Marie Schlender, and I'm going to share with you some things that I do in my classes that from the outside observer may seem weird. One of the classes I teach is oral communication, and one of the goals is to have the students speak and feel comfortable speaking in English. So I try to bring things in that have an ordinary life in the outside world, but in the classroom they take on a different life. Composition 1 has a B paper and an A paper, and I have found that for my students the B paper is a very hard concept to understand because it has 3 criteria that need to be used: a personal, a group, and an expert. So I brought my friends in to show how to do this. And for the personal criterion, the students have to think about what's my wish list? What do I really want when I buy a product? And after they do that, they come up with the product they want to buy. But the next part gets really tricky because they have to compare that with something that's in the same group. Yes, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dogs sitting here on the table, but they all don't belong to the same group according to the American Kennel Association. So if I were writing the paper, I would have to show my friend here, Grasshopper, to be in the same group as one of the other dogs. The last paragraph is a little bit easier because they go to the experts and see what the experts say about the choice that they've made. My advice to you is go prepared to class to teach and learn. Show the rewards of success to your students, but remember to listen with your heart and your ears.
Hi, my name is Kim Taylor and I'm a faculty in the Occupational Therapy Assistant Program. And one thing that we do to keep our program interesting, innovative, and weird is to challenge the students to be creative. You notice my belt here is a jump rope. We teach our students to think outside of the box and analyze what does it really take to jump rope. What does it take to be able to sit in a chair? And how can you use a simple piece of equipment like a TheraBand to increase a person's ability to engage in their life? So we utilize a variety of props, and one class in particular is our Therapeutic Activities course, where the students are challenged to think outside of the box and take an activity and break it to its smallest component and then link it to a patient diagnosis and come up with an interactive game or activity that the patient will enjoy and be inspired. In particular, a classroom activity that involved handing the student a bowl of gadgets that look like a junk drawer and challenging the students to come up with an exercise has now evolved into a community-based project where the students now act in groups, develop cognitive and sensory motor activities, and they take them over to Elder Haven and they introduce the activities to the staff and teach the staff how to use the activities with their clients. There's nothing better than seeing the joy and pride on your student's face when their activity's been accepted and then see it utilized in the community.
Hello, I'm James Webb. I'm the Assistant Chairperson for Computer Studies at the Round Rock campus. I'd like to tell you about a really weird experience I had. I was teaching at the Pinnacle, and it was a beautiful afternoon, and I looked up and saw the biggest thunderhead I'd ever seen. As I continued to watch it, I saw rotation, and being from Lubbock, Texas, I knew to take all my students and march them downstairs to a protected area on the first floor. Now, I left one student in the lab who would not come, saying, "I have to finish this." And I explained, "You will die if you stay here." So I ran downstairs, and about 3 minutes later, he came running downstairs saying, "There's a huge tornado." And I said, "Yes, that's why I said you would die." We were all ushered into the small sound room where I watched about 25 young ladies call their daddies frantically on the cell phone while the ceiling tiles began popping up and down as the pressure changed with the winds. But good news, we got a lot of hail, a lot of wind. The tornado didn't hit the building, and we all survived.
Hi, my name's Dwayna Welch, and I teach introductory psychology at the Northridge campus, and these are some of my students. I guess what I would say is weird, maybe not weird, more wonderful, is that my students are taking things from class that I would never have imagined they're taking from class. I have come to an appreciation that students are getting from class exactly what they need to get from class, and their grade may not reflect that. It may, but then again it may not. One of the most profound letters I ever had and profound interactions that I ever had with this student was after the semester was over. A student sent me a letter that, let me just say, I'd made a lot of false assumptions about this student. She was beautiful like a supermodel. She was young. She breezed into class late, or so I thought. She was breezing into class. She didn't seem particularly engaged. She came to class only sporadically, and at the end of the semester I was stunned to get a letter from her wherein she said, "I know that I wasn't always there. I know when I was there I was late. I know it probably looked like I didn't care, but one of my siblings entered rehab and left me with her 3 young children. I'm 19 and I have 2 children of my own. I'm now raising 5 children and I'm under the age of 20. And it may seem that I didn't get anything out of this class. Certainly I'm not going to pass. But what I learned about psychology in this class changed those children's lives forever and for better. And I thank you for that. And I'd like a shot at coming back and taking this class again. And she did. She came back and she got an A. And I think that's weird, but it's wonderfully weird. And I'm glad to be here.
I'm a writing teacher, so I talk with students about their essays a lot, about sentences and paragraphs and just essay structure. But we also talk about their problems, and sometimes we talk about their problems too, like problems at work and problems at home and bad habits they have that are keeping them from success sometimes. So I was working with this student, and she was talking to me about her paper and about the problems. And she stopped and she looked at me and she said, "I just don't know how to do this." And so I said, you know, you just got to struggle through each day, take each day, work through the setbacks. Sometimes you're going to fail, but you just have to persevere. Perseverance more than anything will get you through it. And I kind of nodded sagely. And she just kind of looked at me like she was embarrassed, and I thought, what did I say? But she said, sort of like you'd say to a little kid, "No, I don't know how to do this." And she pointed at her paper in a sentence, and it was a comma splice error. Oops.
The ACC Teaching Excellence Award honors 1 full-time and 1 adjunct faculty member who promotes special learning opportunities, interaction, innovation, and depth of knowledge in their subject area. Nominations come from students, faculty, and staff. They're reviewed and selected by a committee, and the winners receive an award and $1,000. They may also be honored at the May commencement ceremony.
I'm Dave Lauterbach. I've had the great good fortune of teaching history here at Rio Grande since 1996. You know, we all have fun trying to deal with electronic devices in our classroom. Let me tell you a story about a cell phone. I had a young woman, cell phone rang, not an uncommon occurrence. She answered it. I paused. She said, "No, that's okay. You go on." I said, "It's all right. I'll wait." So I sat down on the desk and I waited. The class waited. And we listened, and she said, "So when did your water break? How far apart?" "That close." "Okay. I'm on my way. I'm on my way. I gotta go. I gotta go." She grabs all her stuff. "My sister's having a baby." We said, "Yes, you need to go." So as she left, I turned and looked at the class and I said, "That's about the only time you should answer your phone in class." They busted up laughing. But I said, "It'd be nice if you could," and they said, "Yes, tell me it before class." Well, now I get to tell that story to every single one of my classes. We get to have a good conversation about when and how to use your cell phone, which goes to show that there's not much you can't turn into a teachable moment.
He likes to keep his students informed and involved with activities associated with the school and the community.
He teaches with enthusiasm and confidence, which makes it fun to listen to him talk in class. In fact, an hour and 20-minute long class feels all of like 15 minutes.
He makes the classroom interesting with a wide variety of challenging curriculum, and he takes the time to see students as people, not just numbers or papers to grade.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Wes Wilson. How many of us, when we talk to our students about student success, all the initiatives that we have here at the college to help them out to reach their goals, we miss the fact that many of our students can't envision what this looks like. They've never been to a graduation. They didn't participate. They came from their GED programs, whatever their reason. One semester I showed up on the first day of class in my doctoral robe, so that way I could tell them this is what it looks like. This is how it feels. Because many of them have never been. They can't envision what the end of the whole process is. So I ask my students, when you start my basic math class, my intermediate math class, my elementary math class, think about the end in mind. Then when it gets hard, things get tough, you can always get through it because you're thinking about what your goal is, not so much what you want to do with your life, what you want to work, what field do you want to work in. Now all of a sudden it becomes about what we are doing here at ACC. Now it's time for us to get down to work.
He breaks his lesson down step by step and even color codes it on the board so that you can see each step in a different color. He takes his time to listen to his students, and he truly has a passion for what he's teaching.
I have never seen Wesley Wilson mad, lazy, or depressed in class. This man is always in a good mood.
Last semester was my first time in college, and I was very nervous and a wreck about the whole thing. If it weren't for Professor Wilson, I would never have pulled it off. I'm coming from literally a 9th grade educational background, and I'm a 38-year-old now trying to get her degree. He was so helpful and available for students. He has gone above and beyond to help me succeed with his encouragement and humorous approach to teaching.